again, that's not a Grammy Honor. I'm the president of the Louisiana Coalition of Tax Justice. And I and the Board of Directors, on behalf of our members, welcome you to the LCTJ's first annual People's Convention. And we hope this is accepted. And know it will be if we get the help and feedback from y'all. Now, I declare this convention open and duly qualified to conduct such business that pertains to our charter and bylaws. I would like to introduce at this time my fellow officers who have served us well during the birth and infancy of our young organization. First Vice President is Chris Godek, St. Gabriel, East Iberville, Aware Group. Chris. Second Vice President Alexa Henderson of Mount Airy, Save Our Neighborhood, St. John the Baptist Parish. Tony Henderson. Treasurer is Mary Brasso of Crowley, Health of Polluted Environment from Acadia Parish. And Johnny come lately, Vaughn Johnson from Lake Charles, pipe fitters, steam fitters, local 106, Copper Shoe Parish is not here at this time. That's who we've been waiting on. And the rest of the board members out there in the audience and those who could not be with us today. Please share with us your thoughts and ideas to help make this a successful convention. Mr. Van has so graciously accepted an invitation to have prayer, and at this time, he'll recite the opening prayer. And please remain standing after the prayer for the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Van.
Good morning. Excuse me. Let us pray. Oh God, our help in ages past, our hopes for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home. Oh gracious Father, as we assemble here for our first LCTJ People's Convention, we'd like to thank you for all those who have sacrificed their time, effort, and resources in attendance today. Father, we ask that you guide and direct the officers today and give them the wisdom and knowledge that any decision they make will be fair and just. Heavenly Father, we ask that you open our hearts and minds to receive the information that will be imparted to us to take back to our hometowns and communities for the mutual benefit of all. Father, when today's convention has adjourned and the festivities are over, we ask that you watch over us and guide us safely back to our respective homes. Dear God, we would be remiss if we didn't thank you and ask your blessings on the speakers for today, as well as all the participants on the program. For without them, today would not be a success. These things and all others we humbly ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. That's the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Van. I would like at this time to bring over to speed about this facility and what's expected of us from the people that run it. This is, as we most of us already know, is a non-smoking facility, completely restricted smoking to the outdoors. There are other seminars and classes ongoing at the Tracy Center and other areas of the facility. So please be quiet when we go to our workshop and to and from lunch and so forth. The package that you received is a result of your efforts, along with that of the Executive Board and the Board of Directors. The bylaws and issues platform are the only subjects we will discuss today. And should you have other issues pertinent to the LCTJ program project, please contact the board member or send your information to our office in Baton Rouge. And that's pretty well self-explanatory. We have things that we need to, business we need to conduct today, and it only enhances if we all know what the ground is. Now I'm going to read off, in your package you have the bylaws, and I'll read them off. And this instrument is for your recommendation from the Executive Board and the Board of Directors for your ratification. Being understood that anything in the bylaws that you wish changed or don't agree with is now the time to speak up for the rank and file of any organization, especially this one, has final determination on what's going to be in the bylaw. So with that, I'll start by reading just what our bylaws contain. And Article 1 is the name. The name of the corporation shall be the Louisiana Coalition Incorporated, as provided for in the Articles of Incorporation charter issued by the governor of the state of Louisiana. Article 2 is a statement of purpose. The Louisiana Coalition is established for the purpose of examining economic, budget, tax, health policy, and natural resource protection and conservation. To further the public debate and to educate the public, general public, and policymakers on related issues. Article 3, membership. The coalition shall consist of both organizations and individuals. Each organization which meets the dues and membership requirements as established by the board shall be considered for membership in the coalition and shall be presented to the board for approval. Individuals may become members by paying the established dues and membership requirements. A list of groups and individuals seeking membership in the coalition must be submitted and reviewed by the board. The board reserves the right to refuse membership to any group or individual whose aims are not consistent with the principles of the coalition, but will not discriminate on the basis of race, gender, or religion.
That's not. Then I move that we dispense with the reading of the bylaws since everybody's had a copy.
Okay.
Chance to read it.
All right, get a,
I'll second that.
all in favor? Those opposed? So ordered. Okay, next order of business would be the nomination of officers.
You want to vote on the bylaws?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Those in favor of accepting bylaws as stated in this Louisiana Coalition, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So ordered and accepted. Now we'll move to nomination. Being that I'm not going to run for re-election, I will conduct the nomination for all officers. Anyone wishing to run for an officer, now is the time to make sure which is be known. And the first officer to be nominated would be officer president. And I accept nominated for president of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. I hear you nominate for president.
Okay. I nominate Chris Gordon.
Chris Goday has been nominated for president of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. I hear any further nomination? Any further nomination? Any further nominations for president of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice? I declare it closed. Second is the first vice president. I hear a nomination for first vice president.
I nominate Lanny Roy for first vice.
Lanny Roy has been nominated for first vice president. I hear any other nomination? Any other nomination? Any other nomination for first vice president of LCTS? Now hearing none, I declare those nominations closed. Third is the second vice president. I hear the nomination for second vice president of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. Nomination for second vice president of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. I hear any nomination? Any nomination?
Yes, ma'am. I'll nominate Alexia Henderson.
Alexia Henderson has been nominated for second vice president of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. Any further nominations? Declare nomination closed for second vice president. Now we have financial secretary. Have any nomination for financial secretary of Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice? Any nomination for
For secretary?
financial secretary?
I nominate Mary,
nominations for financial secretary? Hearing none, I declare those nominations closed. Next will be recording. Recording secretary. Any nomination for recording secretary of Louisiana Court of Tax Justice?
I nominate, Ron Johnson.
Vaughn Johnson has been nominated for recording secretary of Louisiana Court of Tax Justice. Any further nomination? Any further nomination for recording secretary of Louisiana Court of Tax Justice? Hearing none, I declare those nominations closed. I believe that's about it for nomination. Anyone, anybody on the board, anybody have anything to say in regard to these officers or selections? You can come forward now. If not, I'll turn the microphone over now to Chris Goday, and who will discuss the issue platform. Chris?
Thank you, President Grumio. Every member of the coalition was asked to submit their recommendations for the LCTS issue platform for 1992. A sample of the platform was mailed out to every member, and it had a sample that was adopted by the Kentucky Citizens Group, Kentuckians for the Commonwealth. Members and group members were asked to send or call their recommendations into the coalition headquarters. Then the Conventions and Platform Committee discussed the suggestions and submitted a draft of the platform to be proposed to the membership. All the members were invited to participate in these committee meetings so we could have a lot of input into the platform. The executive committee then discussed the proposed platform and recommended that it be sent to the convention to be voted on by all the membership. Members will now have an opportunity to amend specific issues within the platform. Amendments will only be allowed if they are acceptable and fall within the goals and objectives of the Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. Any new issues will have to be submitted to the Convention and Platform Committee for consideration at next year's convention. So we will only accept amendments to the proposed platform. We won't accept any new issues at this time. The rules are only members can vote, and the issue requires 2/3 majority for passage. So what I'll do is I'll go through the issues one by one and read them. If you have any objections, changes, deletions, additions, just voice your opinion, please. Our first issue, the prudent use of any funds for programs that improve the quality of education and life in low and medium income communities. Increase revenues for local schools and vital public services at local and state level through a more progressive tax structure that taxes corporations, families, individuals based on their ability to pay. The elimination of sales taxes on food and utilities, a reduction of state and local general sales tax, and a reduction or elimination of tax breaks for profitable corporations. I'd like to, we'll accept a motion now to approve the issues platform.
I make a motion that we approve.
Second motion.
Motion seconded. Does anybody have any objections, deletions, additions? Yes, ma'am.
Can we add drugs, medicine to that list? Taxes that should be passed?
Drugs and medicine? Okay, does anybody have any objections to that? Okay, drugs and medicine will be added.
That's like one word.
Okay, so any more discussion on this issue? Okay, and now I have the vote. All in favor of the issues platform with the change to include drugs and medicine, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the second issue on the platform, reform or elimination of the 10-year industrial property tax exemption, the enterprise zone, and other corporate tax breaks to ensure that the benefits of any exemption outweighs the cost. Louisiana residents, I'll skip the line. New permanent high-wage employment with full benefits is created. Louisiana residents are hired. Routine exemptions are eliminated. School taxes are not exempted. Tax breaks are tied to environmental compliance and pollution reduction. The goals of natural resources, resource conservation and protection are far further. Breaks for highly profitable or existing non-diverse industries are eliminated. Communities can veto an exemption. Taxpayer subsidies are capped at $10,000 per permanent job. Exempted taxes are repaid in the event of layoffs or closing. Diverse, small, and medium-sized businesses receive the bulk of any taxpayer subsidies. I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment. Someone made a motion? Do we have a second?
I second.
Do we have any questions, additions, deletions? Ma'am?
I would just like to see that local, in some way that we can encourage the state to inform local governments of the tax law, tax breaks that are given on state level. It seems that our local officials are not aware of these enormous tax breaks, and they need to be informed. And in some way we could, in this process, inform our local officials.
Of what the tax breaks are and how much?
Right, so that if they wanted to take a stand, they could take a stand.
Okay. Does anybody have any objections?
No objection, but could I add a line?
Yes, sir.
Where you're talking about living in decent wage, full benefits package for the state and local public employees, and with immediate raises sufficient to raise salaries above the poverty level, and the right to organize.
Okay. You added a full line then?
And just, never mind.
Oh, okay, you were on the next proposal. Okay, well, let's finish with, I'm confused enough. Let's finish with this one first. There was someone that suggested another change. And I'm recognizing Kay Gode for the change. No, you're not going to speak. Okay, thank you. Where it says the benefits of any exemption outweighs the cost, she recommended that it be changed to the taxpayer's benefit of any exemption outweigh the cost, so that it's not industry's benefit, but it's our benefit. So, does anybody would have any objection to that change? Okay, well, let's vote on the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now we'll go on to the next one. A living and decent wage with full benefits package for state and local public employees with immediate raises sufficient to raise salaries above the poverty level. Can I have a motion to accept this issue to the platform?
So moved.
Motion, do we have a second? Second. Okay, I think we had a question in the back on this one.
I'm probably gonna hold for a little while.
Okay, you're gonna change another one, okay. Would anybody like to add, delete, or make suggestions for this one? If not, I'd like to, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll go on to the third one. Fourth one, excuse me. Full enforcement of existing laws banning all forms of discrimination in the state of Louisiana, and the protection of women and minority groups from racial and sexual harassment. Can I have a motion to accept this issue to the platform? Any second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Affordable health care and/or insurance for all citizens with special consideration for the uninsured, unemployed, and self-employed. Full funding for the charity hospital system to provide indigent care. improved care for senior citizens and the disabled in state-regulated facilities. Can I have a motion to accept this
I
issue?
know it's good.
A second? We have a motion and a second. Any questions or changes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. The compensation system to ensure that workers are quickly and fully compensated for injuries and unemployment, to restore their lost health and support their families while they are unable to work, and accessible and low-interest credit for disabled workers and retirees based on their ability to pay. I'd like a motion to accept this issue to the platform. Motion, second. We have a second? And a second. Do we have any questions, additions, deletions to this issue? Zach?
Mr. Vice President, I'd like to ask the representatives of the injured workers union here if this platform is in line with their platform and their ideas on that issue.
What?
That representative, I feel as though it's in clear line, and it's based on what we push for overall. On one question, I don't really see it. And that is the question of healthcare, but you covered it in the previous, motion.
Okay.
It's in healthcare.
So you agree with it? Okay. Are there any other additions, deletions? If not, all in favor, oh, Laney, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Chris, I want to bring something up if I'm not out of order.
Sure.
Due to the fact that we have a lot of people that have got injured out there that have never been compensated for no fault of their own because of poor representation from attorneys and poor representation from some unions in some cases, we should apply something that maybe would get these political people to look back and go up and reopen some of these cases that were closed because of the statute, because people had no knowledge of the statute of limitation, that some of these cases should be reversed and reopened to look at brought back in court.
Okay, do you want to word that?
We need to,
To reopen old cases on
Yeah.
workmen's compensation?
right, let's have workers that have got injured on jobs and have never been compensated.
Because they had poor representation.
Yeah, right. In the last 20 years.
Okay, do anybody have any objections to that recommendation? Okay, with no objections, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, it passes with Laney's change. Corporate workplace and environmental responsibility. Full funding of state environmental budget. Strict enforcement of regulations protecting workers, communities, and the environment. Stiff fines and criminal prosecution for violators. I'd like to have a motion to approve this platform to the, go. Okay, we have first, we have second. Do we have any additions, deletions, changes? Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's where I want to put it in.
I can barely hear you, so you're gonna have to.
Same with me. Bill, and the sentence that ends with the word violators, take the period out, put in the right for all workers to organize for self-protection and advancement.
Okay, in case everybody didn't hear that, we're gonna take period out, put a comma, and the right of all workers to organize for self-protection and advancement. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody else have any changes, deletions, additions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The development of industries that do not require the use of toxic substances in the manufacture of its products. Legislation that discourages the importation of hazardous waste while encouraging reduction, reuse, and recycling of solid, hazardous, and special waste. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve this issue to our platform.
I give a motion.
Motion, second? Second. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, changes? Anybody? Okay, well, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? state-sponsored Public Works and Jobs program that focuses on hiring the unemployed and underemployed to rebuild the state's infrastructure, road, housing, etc., and provide services that are not currently sufficient, healthcare, daycare, counseling, etc. Jobs where the state or private should be safe, clean, offer prevailing wage, full benefits, and dignity in the workplace. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this issue to our platform.
moved.
Thanks.
Second, moved and second. Do we have any additions, deletions, or comments? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? State-sponsored higher education and job training for all low and moderate income citizens who desire to continue their education or work. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this issue to our platform. Motion, seconded. Any additions, deletions, changes? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like a clarification between moderate and average income.
You would like moderate struck and put average?
I'd like to know the difference between it before we did it, but it's just,
Um,
a little bit more range than.
It's just a little bit too vague. Yes,
It's
sir.
a point of discussion. I don't think anybody can define, that's relative, and 2 years from now, 3 years from now, that may change. And I don't think any one individual is gonna be hit the nail on the head as what it's moderate. I think it's a conceptual type of proposal, be my thoughts on it. However, I will accept anybody's definition.
Okay. Does that satisfy you, or you'd rather change it?
state uses in a lot of their rhetoric, the word average income,
Mhm.
that I have seen just lately.
You want to put, would you like to put in its place moderate or average income?
That would be,
That would be more acceptable?
to me, it would be only because that's wording that the state uses.
Okay.
I'm quite pleased with it right now, trying to get son to college.
The
Okay.
state should well know, being that their average income is well below the national average.
Right. You don't want to go with
Or
that.
you want to put Louisiana state average? Does everyone agree with that change? Does anybody have any other additions, deletions? If not, do you have an addition, Miss? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's passed with the change. Aggressive efforts to investigate and prosecute white-collar corporate crime and political corruption within the state and local government. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this issue to our platform.
So moved.
It's moved and seconded. Any discussion on that issue? Additions, deletions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Laws and policies that promote the election and appointment to state and local bodies of grassroots citizens and community leaders from diverse, underrepresented, and disenfranchised constituencies. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this issue to our platform.
Move it.
Move, second. Okay. Anybody have any changes, deletions, additions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public participation and access to the democratic process through the creation and enforcement of strong measures making public records and open meetings accessible to the public. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this issue to our platform. Move.
Second.
Second. Any additions or deletions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Utility rate reform and energy conservation. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept this issue to our platform. Move, second. Second. Okay, anybody have any additions to this? Yes, sir.
I'm Tom Lowenberg with the Alliance for Affordable Energy.
Yes, sir.
And I'd suggest changing the word conservation to efficiency, energy efficiency, which is just a preferred term. And also changing rate to regulatory, utility regulatory.
Anybody have any problems with those changes? Ma'am?
I want the word conservation left in, but I agree that, utility regulatory, that.
Well, can
But
we?
I don't see why we can't can't have both yet.
Can we have both? Can we say energy efficiency and conservation? Okay, does anybody have any objections to that? Okay, the new line will read, utility regulatory reform and energy efficiency and conservation. Does anybody else want any changes? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it passes with the changes. Legislative reforms, including lobbyist disclosure, limits on PACs, and other contributions to legislators, and a toll-free citizens phone line during the legislative session. I'd like to entertain a motion to accept that issue to our platform. Moved, seconded. Anybody have any changes to this?
What we discussed, Chris, possibly extending that 800 number to all local and state government bodies so that citizens would have access. There's some people in the rural outlying areas that may not make a phone call and contact someone if they have to do it on their own. And I think as much money as this state gives away in tax breaks to the corporations, that they could afford their citizens 800 numbers to contact the local representatives.
Does anybody have any objections to that change? Okay, we will have it with an addition in local and state government bodies also. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's it for the issues platform. Thank you very much.
Next, we'd like to introduce Ms. Bradlow again on the chapter and group report. Mary?
At this time, we'd like to ask if there are any group representatives who would like to tell us about the work that they have been doing, and also perhaps would like to tell us about their goals that they hope to achieve in this year, 1992. I'd like to see a show of hands as to those of you who would like to come up and speak, so we can know how much time we might allow to each of you. Would anyone like to come and speak up? Two back there. All right, so we can look at like at least 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes per speaker. Will be okay? I don't think that you'll be very limited as to,
Let them speak as long as they
should allow, all right. Thank you. So who would like to be the first speaker? Do you have any volunteers? Number one.
There was one thing that's especially important to us is different things that are going on in our group currently. A couple of weeks ago, we had a chlorine leak in St. Gabriel, and the residents, local residents, weren't notified. Even though the plants next door to the site were evacuated, area residents weren't evacuated. So we've organized a meeting that's coming up in 2 weeks, and if anybody's interested in helping us or coming out, it'll be Wednesday, February 19, 1992, 6:30 p.m. at the American Legion Hall in St. Gabriel. 10 years ago, we had the same identical problem. They had a leak, chlorine leak at the same plant. 10 years later, we have another leak, the same thing happens. The chemical plants are evacuating, the citizens aren't. So not much has changed for us in St. Gabriel, except that the economy's gone down, more people are suffering with cancer, and there's more pollution in the area. So the groups are struggling as hard as they can to make changes, but we're fighting inept politicians and big corporate dollars, and it's groups like the Coalition for Tax Justice that gives us support and helps us, the Louisiana Environmental Action Network, that makes a difference. And the membership that comes out and helps us in our different actions has really been helpful. So thank you very much.
Good morning. I'm Vaughn Johnson. I represent the Southwest Louisiana Building Trades and also Plumbers and Pipe Fitters in Lake Charles, Louisiana. We're an organization that's about 79 years old. We represent workers in the oil, chemical, well, basically the plumbing and piping industry. We're a labor union. We bargain for wages, terms of employment, and conditions. Some of the things that we've been involved with recently and working in conjunction with LCTS are trying to seek some reform in the state's 10-year industrial tax exemption program, which we call corporate welfare. And some of the things that we have found that the shortfalls of the program are that no one or the program or the Board of Commerce and Industry did not have a budget that was large enough to actually enforce and administer the program that they had set aside to give away these tax breaks. When we got to looking into it further, we found that we have billions of dollars being given away to corporations to create jobs that supposedly should be given or should be at least considered for Louisiana citizens. And in many cases, we'll find that jobs aren't being created. The jobs that are being created are construction jobs. When those jobs are created, that directly affects the people that I represent. Of the jobs that are being created, we're finding that many of the jobs are going to out-of-state residents or residents that are considered citizens by merely coming here for a 30-day period of time, which the law now currently provides for. We feel that the law needs to be reformed. When we started, there were 4 guys from Southwest Louisiana that started challenging the program, and Zach North and the Louisiana Coalition. That's how I come to meet Zach at a steering committee meeting for the Board of Commerce and Industry. Since that time, we've effectively shut down some of their meetings. We've marched on the Capitol to speak with Governor Roma, and several other innovative little concepts that we organized. Some of the things that have happened as a result of that were the, and I'm looking for the word, Chris, help me with the environmental scorecard. Zach, the coalition, and the backing of our group are influential in getting that passed. Also, I think the Tulane Environmental Law Clinic played a very active role in that. Some of the things that I, as a labor representative, would like to try to inform the group of, the coalition and its members, is that in 1976, this state repealed a law, or passed a law, that did away or implemented what they call right to work. Right to work simply means that Louisiana citizens have a right to work for less. When the law was passed in 1976, the average per capita income of Louisiana citizens was somewhere around $1,800 to $1,900 behind the national average. In 1989, Louisiana citizens are close to $5,000 behind the national economy in per capita income. Some of the things that have also occurred as a result of that has been we've seen the whole construction industry become disorganized. We've seen an onslaught of out-of-state contractors bringing in workers from outside Louisiana, in some cases from outside the United States, who are competing against people who reside here in this state, have worked to ensure that workers have a safe working place, a clean working place, an environmentally sound working place, that they have a right in the terms and conditions of their employment, that they have a right to speak out when their safety is directly affected. And as a consequence of almost, let me count here, about 17, 18 years of this right to work law, we've seen not only the organized sector in Louisiana slip, but Louisiana citizens as a whole. anytime a corporation wants to build or find cheap labor, and I'm not saying unskilled labor, I'm saying cheap labor, they're moving to Louisiana. I'll cite an example. Arco Petroleum is fixing to build a $400 million project at the Port of New Iberia. They selected Louisiana, the Port of New Iberia, as the site to construct the modules. The labor unions went in, the construction labor unions, and tried to negotiate a project agreement, and we did. We had a contractor that bid the job. We bid a fair wage package. It included health care benefits and pension benefits. Also, it established terms and conditions as far as overtime standards, safety standards, and we also included in that agreement penalty clauses that if there were any strikes that were sanctioned by the union that were unjustified, we would penalize ourselves up to $10,000 per shift. So if there was a 3 8-hour shift going, we would penalize the union, the offending union would be penalized $10,000 per shift. Arco Petroleum selected a contractor that has a history of bringing workers in from outside of Louisiana, has a history of coming into an area and paying wages substantially below those that prevail in the area, has a history of not providing benefits to their employees, and has a history of seeking corporate welfare. Just this past Thursday morning, in New Iberia, we testified before the service district area there for the Job Training Partnership Act, the people that administered those funds to the police jury. This company was seeking an additional $500,000 in training funds when we have workers currently trained in the area to do that work who are unemployed. So some of the things I wish you folks would think about, and when you hear the words right to work, you know, it's a beautiful sounding phrase, everyone should have the right to work. That's not necessarily what it means. We spoke with a representative of ours that we've been trying to get to help us pass the repeal of the legislation, and he's an attorney, and I asked him personally, if I wanted to practice law in the state of Louisiana, what would I have to do? He said, you would have to go to school, you'd have to graduate, pass a bar exam. I said, well, would I have to pay any association fees? He said, yeah, you'd have to belong to the Bar Association. To me, that is no different than belonging to a labor organization or belonging to an association of workers to protect their rights. So the lawyers can make laws to protect themselves, but we can't make laws to protect ourselves. So you may hear that in this session of the legislature, there's going to be a push for either the repeal of right to work or a provision that would provide agency shop. When you hear those terms, don't think that we're trying to take anybody's job away from them. We're just trying to protect the rights of the workers in this state to organize so that they may have a safer working place, a workplace that provides fair wages and working conditions, a workplace that provides health care for workers and their families, and also an environmentally clean workplace. So I thank you for your time this morning.
I'm Alexia Henderson from St. John Parish, member of RAP, which is River Area Planning Group, and SON, Save Our Neighborhood. And I guess I'm a member of so many because I'm right in the middle of a chemical salad. I live on the eastern bank of the river, and of course, we fought for quite some time Aristex, who was to build a phenol cumene plant about 500 feet from some of our homes. At this time, their applications to DEQ has been withdrawn, but I think it's because we're tied up in litigation. We sued the parish because that property was rezoned from residential to industrial 3, which is the heaviest industry that you can put. At this time, I guess they're just waiting and biding their time. When the lawsuit's over, and of course our appeal, if we lose the appeal, I imagine they will be right back in our backyard. In the meantime, Formosa is trying to locate just across the river from us. At this time, with the help of Coalition and with the help of Tulane Law Clinic, we have them doing an environmental impact study. And they did a very poor job at it, to say the least. At one point, they said that they were building a chemical and rayon plant, and now, because of the impact study, they have changed it to just a rayon plant. However, some of our property owners there and one such as Mr. Green, has them kind of tied up because they need that battery and they need the back of that property in order to go forth with their project. But it just goes to show you the kind of world we're living in, especially with industry crowding out residents. And of course, we're fighting with our own government officials who seems bent and intent on allowing this to happen.
Earlier, Von Johnson had told y'all that he was been attacked, or they had been attacked in the building trade industry by management and so forth to undercut their wages and do away with benefits and just about any thing you want to talk about. But not only were building trades attacked, industrial unions as well. And I represent LCAW down the road at Gardner. That were locked out in 1984. The company came to a bargaining table. It was an expiration contract with a total rewrite of the contract of the agreement. We couldn't accept what they had written because it would set us back 20, 30 years. So as a consequence, we were willing to go ahead and work without a contract and so forth and try to go to the table and hammer this thing out. But they locked us out instead. And a lockout, for y'all that don't understand what a lockout is, this is reverse from what a strike is. Strike, people get upset about what the company's going to offer and decide not to take it, and they go out on strike and have a little picket around the company. But a lockout works a little bit different. It's just the management turns against their workers is what it amounts to. And they imported a bunch of scab labor and took over our job. And we started what was called a corporate campaign. People like myself, Van, Bill Timmons from Loyola, and we got help from building trades, Kevin Henderson, and people from all the building trades and industrial unions in the area soon understood that it not only happened to us, it happened to them as well. So we got some help from them. So at the beginning, and then later on, about 8, 9 months down the road, the International really got involved. And we had started getting benefits to the tune of about $3 million before it was all said and done. We were locked out 5.5 years, which is a long, long time, as you might imagine. A lot of our people didn't go back to work, they went to work other places, so no one could stay without a job that long. We traveled this whole country, espousing the bad image of BSF, and in this country as well as overseas. We went overseas to their board of directors hearings and stockholders meetings in Ludwigshafen, this is their capital. We had a base group over there that gave us support. They was upset with what BSF was doing in their own country as far as polluting the Rhine River and so forth. So all in all, these companies are not the good neighbors they claim to be, and the high taxpayers that they claim to be. They take it with one hand and they give it back with the other. But it don't cost them anything. They go home with all the money in their pockets, and we end up with hardly anything at all. So anytime you hear of companies on TV bragging about what they're doing to help the environment and how good they are and so forth, you can bet that they're doing something that's not on the surface of things. They're doing something that you got to watch. In other words, beware Greek bearing gifts. So,
All Germans.
yeah, right, my German, that's just damn crap. Anyhow, it's this day and time, we need to get our act together, not just living people, but all working people, and address this situation, because without our labor, they can't do anything. In this world, there's people that work and people that don't, and they don't. We do. And if you can hold your labor strong, you stand a better chance of getting a halfway decent living wage, and you'll get support from places you would least expect. That's what we did. And it surprised us that we could hold out for as long as we did, but we did, and with God's grace, we never have to do that again, or anyone else for that matter. And I think that made a point to not only BSF, but other companies as well. Because I was called to a meeting about halfway through this lockout. We had a chemical association, and they wanted to know why we were bashing all the industry when BSF was the culprit. I said, well, we don't have any more control over BSF, and they belong to y'all's organization. If y'all want us to shut up, you better get them in line, and then we'll all go back to work and everybody live happily ever after. So sooner or later that'll happen, but you gotta, it takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of help. Thank you.
Been brought to my attention that a number of people wish to speak, so therefore I would kindly ask that you limit your presentation to approximately a couple of minutes. Mr. Roy, I think you had expressed a desire to speak.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. My name is Randy Roy. I'm a state vice president of Louisiana ACOM. And I'd just like to let you all know that since we got involved with LCTS was like a shot in the arm for the organization ACOM in the city of Lake Charlotte, Louisiana. They have gotten us involved, direct lobbying with state legislators and state government, which we are concerned about local issues, but then again, you know, the big issue starts from the state. And since we joined LCTS, we brought us a lot of more members. A lot of members coming in to join us because of the strategy of LCTS combined with ACOM. And we also launched a drug march against drug with ACOM and LCTS. It was bad for the communities and the drug dealers up in our communities and our parks, our recreation centers and all that. And then by doing the march against drugs, it's waking up the officials out there, the policemen and everything. And right now, it's really done. We got our communities getting cleaned up, our recreation centers is getting to where people can take their turn back on the recreation centers and all that. And that was great help. Also, we have some issues we're going to be working on, looking at right now. As ACON and LCTS. The reason why I say ACON and LCTS, I don't want to mix it all up. But ACON been around for a long time in Calcasieu Parish. I'm from Lake Charles, Calcasieu Parish. And ACON been around since for about 17 years in our parish. And we've been with LCTS for a couple of years now. And since that time, both of them, as working together, have brought, it was very feasible to us in our city, in our parish. And I wish we continue working together. And I appreciate all the members that's working along with us, and I'm hoping that we can continue working together. Thank y'all.
If it's all right with everyone, I think I'll just go on down the list and it might make it easier to get everyone to speak. Next we have Alan Bernard, which will be followed by Marcus Carson.
First of all, good morning. I think y'all kind of eliminated me when y'all said 2 minutes. That's unfair. I'm Alan Bernard. I'm president of the Statewide Injured Workers Union. For those of you all who don't have never heard of that term, it's an organization formed about a year or so ago, established to empower injured workers, people that are hurt on the job. The average person in this state that works for a living are unaware of what happens to them when they fall under the quote-unquote term workman's comp. But what is horrifying, I'm an injured worker, we've got quite a few in this area, and you lose everything. Not knowing about the system until after we got involved with it, there was only one solution to change the system, that was organizing. It's the only thing I've ever been involved with, and I know everybody up here. Vaughn gave an elaborate spiel on the history of the so-called the right to work law. But a lot of that gave rise to our workman's comp laws and the changes in it. So what we've been basically doing across the state, started out with 4 of us, over a year and a half ago, is organizing injured workers, educating them to the law, supporting their families, and becoming a tight-knit family group. Lobbying in the legislative section, the activities for us, what we did this past year, is unbelievable. We moved from New Orleans to something like 8 chapters throughout the state. Vaughn know that, we've been in his area. We moved across the nation. I've been to so many meetings, we're on several national committees, okay, drawing attention to workers' comp and organizing injured workers. Some of the key pieces of legislation that we are pushing this year along, besides national health care, which Bush said he don't want no form of socialism in this country, real health care to injured workers, and I think national health care would really cover that. Safety first on the job. I mean, if the real safety promoted on the job, none of us would be injured, none of us would be out here trying to fight for workers' comp. That's something that's truly lacking. And lacking in enforcement on the question of OSHA. OSHA is a big dog with no teeth. Okay? We're talking about opening up the question, the doors that have been closed. A lot of injuries on the job, such as toxic contamination, heart attacks, strokes, are not covered under workers' comp. A lot of our people out of Lafayette and Lake Charles area, Vaughn's area, got toxic contaminated or poisoned. Okay, right here in Baton Rouge, Brenda Fox and their group was poisoned. Okay, there is no recovery from that. Okay, they don't want to recognize that. They won't recognize that your body decays over years and tears down. They don't want to recognize that. You're only a machine, not a human being. That's the way to look at the game. Okay, so we're moving rapidly to change that. The question of health care, ongoing health care coverage for any injured worker or members of their families during the duration of their injury. Okay, a prompt payment bill that would speak to the speedy justice system, which we don't have now, which would make it more speedy because it makes it unlawful for an insurance carrier to stop your benefits for any reason without them going into court. Watch how fast the court system gets now, if we can get that passed. We work closely with Zach. We've had people on the board trying to keep them more active, and it's an ongoing battle all across this country. It's a shame that you can't turn your television on and smile no more. It's frightening. But people are beginning to move again. It reminds me of the struggles during the 60s. People are on the rise. And believe me, it's going to change. It has changed. This is election years. Politicians promise you the sky. Damn that, no more lip service. Let's see what you're going to do in practice. And that's a reality. And, said I've been brief. I hope that was brief enough. I'll see most of y'all doing the thing. I still don't like no 2 minutes.
I may take more than a couple minutes, and I'm going to apologize for that ahead of time. My name is Marcus Carson. I'm the staff person for the Louisiana Healthcare Campaign. And I've got a couple things that I wanted to bring up. One is, y'all have heard President Bush's so-called plan for healthcare reform. Got a couple things to say about that, and then a little bit about what the coalition is doing this year on healthcare. We're a coalition of church groups, unions, community organizations that are, and small business people that are interested in seeing this healthcare system fixed so that every American and every Louisianian has access to a doctor when you need one. It's real simple, real straightforward. We don't have that now. Healthcare is no longer a right, and it needs to be reestablished. There are 2 things this year that we think we can do to begin the process of fixing this system. We're not going to fix it all at once because it's real big and real complicated. Those 2 things are going after the insurance industry and the abuses of the insurance industry where they just don't seem to be able to do the job. First one is you can get insurance today for everything but what ails you. But the moment you get sick, you either can't get insurance to cover yourself at all, or you can't get it to cover the thing you're most likely to need health insurance for. So what we're going to tell insurance companies this year is that you're going to issue policies to anybody who comes along, and you're going to have to issue a policy that covers everything, not just the half of your body that's healthy and not the half that's not. So they're going to have to cover all of you. They're going to have to pay for the medical bills when they come along, especially if you're moving from one insurance policy to the other. The second one is to require them to set their rates based on their whole group. It's what every other country in the world does. They estimate the cost of health care, and they set the rates based on all of the people in the pool, instead of what insurance companies here do. Just pick out somebody in a group and say, well, you're sick, so we're going to raise your rates, and you got 3 people who are 55 in your group, so we're going to raise your rates higher, and you got a couple of women who might have kids in the next few years, so we're going to raise your rates. We're going to make them put everybody into the same pool and average those out so that everybody has some security, and you don't have to worry about your rates going up just because you happen to have to go to see a doctor or go to the hospital. Again, those don't solve all of the problems, but those will begin to reestablish what insurance is supposed to be, which is to spread risk and share costs as broadly as possible. The third is that we need to protect the programs that we have now in place. We need to expand Medicaid so that more people who don't make enough money to buy insurance are eligible for something. Medicaid isn't great, but it's something. And in the long term, we're pushing for national health insurance. We think that a system similar to what Canada does, where everybody in the country is insured, and when you need to see a doctor, you go to the doctor or you go to the hospital of your choice, and you get the health care you need. You show them a card, you get your health care, and you leave. No muss, no fuss. Let me talk for a second about President Bush's plan. There are a couple of messages I think that are real important in this plan. First message is don't get sick. You hear the President talking about healthy lifestyles, smoking, drinking, eating, exercising. You look at the evidence, Americans are living healthier than they've ever lived before. We eat less junk, people are smoking less, people are drinking less, some of us are even drinking a little bit less coffee. And President Bush somehow believes that by changing the way that we live, we're going to lower healthcare costs. Well, we may delay it a little bit, but the fact is that a lot of us don't have control over whether you have heart problems, whether you have cancer, whether you have diabetes. We know some of the chemical plants up the river are dumping stuff that has nothing to do with how we eat and how we sleep and how we live. So this message about don't get sick is the wrong message for how to fix the healthcare system. Second is that he thinks we're stupid. He proposes to give billions of dollars away to the health insurance industry in tax money, although he calls it tax credits. Somehow he thinks that if he calls it tax credits, we don't believe it's tax money. And we don't object to paying taxes to pay for health care. We think that's probably a good idea. But we don't want to pay taxes to the insurance companies and subsidize the waste and red tape and abuse of the insurance industry. And the third is message from George Bush is that George Bush likes insurance companies. The first group that he went to talk with, when he finally understood that I don't know that George believes that there's a problem, a healthcare crisis, but he certainly got the message that other people think so. The first group that Bush and his Secretary of Health met with was the Health Insurance Association of America. They didn't meet the doctors first. They didn't meet sick people first. They didn't meet the elderly first. They met with the health insurance industry. And it's no surprise because this plan is good news for the health insurance industry. There are no cost controls. George Bush's own numbers indicate that health care costs are going to double between this year at $800 billion for the entire country. By the end of the decade, it's supposed to go to $1.6 trillion. That's $14,000 for every family in this country. I don't know if y'all can afford that, but I don't think we're going to be able to. It pits the poor against the elderly. He's talking about capping Medicaid and Medicare. But healthcare costs are going to continue to go up. So when you cap Medicaid and Medicare, you pit the poor and the elderly against each other, scrapping for less and less money and having a harder time finding doctors who will take it. And you shift the rest of the cost over to middle-income families that can barely afford insurance today. And the third, I already mentioned, it's a windfall for insurance companies. He's talking about taking billions of dollars away from Medicare and Medicaid and handing it over to the insurance industry to provide health insurance policies that don't cover anything. So we need to send a message to George that, and you got to remember, this plan comes from a man whose doctor follows him around 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, and he still can't follow his doctor's advice.
Next, Tom Lowenberg, followed by Grace Leday.
I'm Tom Lowenberg. I'm the research director with the Alliance for Affordable Energy. We're based in New Orleans. We have been around since about 1985 and have been working on energy issues even before then. we have been involved in a number of rate cases challenging unfair rate increases. Probably the most celebrated case was the Grand Gulf rates, and we've been involved in New Orleans and at the Public Service Commission. Probably our biggest focus has been more in New Orleans, and we're expanding now around the state. In the last year, we had one of the biggest successes of any similar group working on energy issues around the country. We got the New Orleans City Council to adopt a least cost energy planning strategy, which requires the utility companies to treat investments in energy efficiency, or treat energy efficiency as a resource on the same basis that investments in power plants are treated. The utility is required to put together 20-year plans on how they're going to meet future energy needs, and it's cheaper to save a watt of energy than to produce one in a power plant. That's where the utility investment goes. What that means is that we can start putting insulation in our attics, improving lighting in our buildings, and by doing that, keeping a lot of money in our pockets rather than having it flow out for more expensive energy options. What it means is that the utility will be probably investing millions of dollars in helping us to save energy. This will apply in utilities operating in New Orleans. Now, we're also trying to get same type of policies statewide. Public Service Commission is a little bit more problematic. They have a lot further to go. Nevertheless, they've just opened a docket on least cost planning, and we suggested to the Public Service Commission that they start an administrative rulemaking committee to come up with correct regulations on this. One thing that's very exciting about the least cost process in New Orleans is that the ordinance creates what's known as a working group, and the working group consists of representatives from the different ratepayer classes in the city, as well as some different vendors of energy efficiency type things. It includes labor, it includes disadvantaged business enterprises, and a representative of the regulator and of the utility. The idea is to try to get people together and to get people involved in participating in the process at the front end, so that we don't have a situation where we've got power plants that aren't needed being built, and in a 15-year process that at the far end we find we can't afford, that we didn't need, and that it's causing our rates to go up. The idea is to get people involved in the beginning, and we had this in Louisiana, we probably wouldn't be having what's happened in our utility rates in the last number of years. One thing that's very interesting to me about the Louisiana Coalition is the work on industrial tax exemption. I don't know how many people in here know who the first three, who the three highest exemptions go to in the state, but all three of them are utilities. It's LP&L, Gulf States Utilities, and Cajun Electric. The result of these policies is, of course, not creating any jobs, because the utilities were here anyway, but it's an investment in the most capital-intensive form of energy production, and what that has done has meant that more economic and more efficient options were foregone, and we've had a lot higher rates as a result. I have some copies of our newsletter, Bright Ideas, on the table on the outside if anybody's interested. And I don't want to take any more. I'll probably exceed my 2 minutes, so thank you.
today with East St. Mary Outreach. We're an outreach center located in Walton City, Louisiana. And we serve a lot of the disadvantaged of our area, people who fall between the cracks. And a lot of the injustices that you're speaking of today, we see the end result of. Like seeing the elderly person have to choose between energy in the winter or food or medical care. One of the biggest problems we have is seeing people without medical care. We try to assist them with some donations from doctors and send to low-cost organizations, but many people who are now working are working without benefits. They don't have full-time jobs. They don't have insurance. They don't have sick leave. They don't have, workman's comp. And it's really causing a lot of hardship, a really, really difficult situation to see happening to people. And our business is growing enormously. I mean, very rapidly. We have more and more clients, that come in facing these difficulties. So we just wanted to come here today and find out what this organization was about. We haven't been organized and active in changing anything, but we do see the end result, and we'd like to see something happen to change that. I thank you.
Next, Leslie Van, and then Pam Netherly, is it?
Yes, I'm Leslie Van with the All Chemical and Atomic Workers Union. First of all, through our alliance with LCTJ and NTC, I'd like to report now that we're in the process of hiring a field organizer, which will be working in real close with LCTJ, NTC, which is the National Toxics Campaign, and also with the Gulf Coast Tenants. And she will be going around the state doing some community organizing, and in fact, I think it was primarily in minority neighborhoods all over the state. And one other thing I'd like to report, Remion didn't mention it, but I think OCAW has been with LCTJ from its inception. And to give you a little information on how it got started, as a result of the lockout, Richard Miller and I think everybody here knows him, we happened to be down at the Board of Commerce and Industry one day trying to find out just how many tax exemptions or what applications that BASF had on file. And lo and behold, we ran across a permit that was still into effect for the old Bassett-Grant plant, and so Richard asked me, are they still operating? I said, no, the Bassett-Grant plant has been shut down. So we looked at it, we got a copy of it, come to find out they had never notified the Bureau of Commerce and Industry that they had shut the plant down, and they were still riding out the 10-year tax exemption. So Richard and I jumped on that, and then as a result of the end result of that was that they wound up settling out of court and they had to pay Ascension Parish, I think it was something like $150,000, which was still not only a drop in the bucket. But through that, that's when things Zach started, Richard got with Zach and started organizing, stole him out of New Orleans and brought him here. And he started working in our office, and the plant manager, the first time Zach answered the phone, the plant manager called me and asked me, who is this Zach North and what is this LCTJ and all of that? And he wanted to know, was he working for the union? I said, no, he's not working for the union. I said, y'all are responsible for Zach North forming this organization. So he said, well, how is that? I said, well, for one thing, if you hadn't locked us out, Richard Miller wouldn't have been here. If Richard Miller not been here, I wouldn't have been down in the Bureau of Commerce and Industry looking at your files. Had I not been looking at your files, I wouldn't have found out that you owed Ascension Parish almost $300,000. I said, so we thank y'all for bringing Zach North here.
They were doing everybody else.
Well, that's how we got formed. So, but anyway, we realized that now this is just one instance of a plant that is riding these 10-year tax exemptions out for all of the 10 years with plants that are shut down and no longer in service. And if this one plant is doing that, then we have no idea how far it's going all over the state. And we couldn't take that job on, so that's when Richard suggested to Zach that he take it on, and through that, he's gotten started. And I'd like to say, we would like to thank BASF as well as OCAW for being a part of Zach getting started. Thank you.
I'm Pam Devil. I'm president of St. Bernard Citizens for Environmental Quality. In the beginning, we started out just being an environmental group. We discovered that most of our environmental problems were the cause of our own parish officials and state legislators. And we have, through a lot of help that we have gotten with Zach, managed to make some inways. We've only been in existence for about a year and a half now, but we've already been able to establish in St. Bernard with the large mobile refinery, a community development organization. And this development organization is one of our successes because we have managed to push the mobile oil refinery into contributing more into our community and to do more business with our local community. We have about 66,000 people, which concentration level is in about a 4-mile area. In that 4-mile area along the river, we have 4 major polluters and 1 ex-polluter. The mobile refinery, the Murphy refinery, which has happened to have dumped upon us with its emissions 87 times in the past year, who does not file TRI data properly. We have found discrepancies within their data each time we've had the time to investigate. We also have the Calciner Industries, which has managed to take its green coke and spread it all over our community. We have also have the Amstar refinery, which has happened to very quietly declare itself an enterprise zone and managed to get more and more tax exemptions. We are now working on a project which is about to kill us all because we are working against our own parish's economic development. And in a way, we were very much responsible with trying to get more funds into St. Bernard Parish for economic development. Now the Economic Development Corporation wants to bring in a steel plant into this very small area. They want to put it on the old Kaiser facility site. The Kaiser facility was the nation's #1 metal polluter for the entire time that it was in existence in St. Bernard. The people who live in that area up around that Kaiser site suffer with extreme amounts of cancer, large numbers of cancer from anyone who has lived in that area. The workers from that facility now are showing up with high numbers of cancer and heart attack rates. A heart attack is from the stress that is caused by them working in the pot rooms. It does not show on the young boy, but in the middle-aged man it is beginning to show. These things that people are not recognizing was one of the faults from the Kaiser plant. That facility has closed down. It has wreaked havoc to our community because we no longer have those high-paying jobs, and people are afraid that we will never be back at what we were. Yet our government would like to come in and put a steel plant, which is going to take and put more emissions into the air. First thing is that there are no steel facilities that do not put emissions, and 1% more of emissions is not going to help the community already that has cancer and that is already suffering from breathing problems. On itself, the steel plant may look like it's staying within its permitted levels. And the problems that we have discovered is that everyone, not even, well, Murphy not, is trying to stay and saying we're within our permitted levels, but together they are killing our parish. We are now having to fight them to seek more environmentally safe organizations. One of the ways that we have started to fight them with is our legislators are definitely oil and gas legislators. We happen to have the President of the Senate, Mr. Sammy Nunes, as our state legislator, and one of our state legislators. He does nothing but fight for more oil and gas company exemptions and anything that they want. We are now going in and working with a group that is trying to call for two-term terms limitations on our state and federal representatives. We feel that it's important that people get back in the community, that the local legislators, Mr. Nunes has been in office for 27 years. He's very seldom ever in St. Bernard Parish. He does not truly care about the people in St. Bernard Parish. What he cares about is getting reelected. The only time we even see him talk to our local groups is at election time. We now want people who represent us in government, and we're hoping that term limitation is something that we can get statewide. We have truly, as an environmental group, found that this is one of the few ways that we can have a voice, because in the way our government is structured, these people have large organizations of people who owe them, who come back time after time and get them reelected. We have to start letting our neighbors know, not just the members of our organization, that they have to have a voice. I know I've gone over my 2 minutes, and I would like to thank you all for being here, and hope you go back and spread the word to everyone, not just members of your organization.
Next on my list here is Wilfred Green, followed by Nina Schulman.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure, and it is also an honor to have the privilege of speaking to you. I am here to try to set the record straight as to what is transpiring in the parish of St. John the Baptist. Mrs. Alexis tried to tell you what is happening on the east bank of the river. I will try to tell you what's happening on the west bank. I am a member of the RAP group. I am vice president and one of the founders. It was found because of a conspiracy between big business and a local politician to perpetuate a form of racism on black people through economic blackmail. My people, I am talking about the people of color, did not come to America because of their own choosing. They were forced to come here. Those of you who are white, you came here on freedom of your own will. We were brought here to wait. To do what? Not to do ourselves good, but to do good to the white man. I am not a racist, but I am a sufferer from the injustice that has been brought upon me and my people by the white man. Now, one day came in St. John Parish, before my time, practically 200 years ago or more, they had a purpose. They still have a purpose. Their purpose was to bring in black people to work on the farm, to utilize them for the economic good of the big farmers. What is the point now? Farming in St. John's Parish is on its way out. Rice farming has ceased. Sugarcane farming is declining. Each and every one of you know that NutraSweet is taking over. Sugar is being brought from other countries at a cheaper price than it can be produced in America. So what's left? The farmers have a lot of land. They got to find some way of getting rid of it. So what do? They conspire with the politician to bring in plants, regardless of what happened to the poor black people in St. John Parish. I'm saying to those who are there, I think Shakespeare said it once, and he said it better than I could ever say. Oh, what a tangled web we weave, when at voice we practice to deceive. And I'm saying to my black people, remember, the man who forgets his past is doomed to relive it. The politicians have not taken any time to look at what is transpiring in the world today, not only in America. They are trying to rule from a base of power. And any man who knows or reads the history book know that any man who tries to rule from a base of power is doomed to failure. Adolf Hitler tried it. The people in South Africa tried it. They placed Mandela in prison for 27 years. But did he rise up again? And I am saying that the black people in St. John Parish, with the help of their fellow brothers and whites who are being devastated as we are going to rise again. I cannot ask you any more than what I'm saying. We need your help. Those of you who are well versed in the knowledge of how to work with these people, we desperately need your help. I am not well versed in knowing all the intricacies of working how to find out this information, but I know one thing: a politician doesn't want me to find it. I am the most hated man in St. John Parish. Why? Because the lies you're telling me. When I was a boy in school, at Valina C. John School in the city of New Orleans, an old man told me one day, he said, "Son, the only thing that will make you free is an education." I have lived by that from the day I was about 4 or 5 years old. I am living it now, and I shall live it until I die. So what do they do to my poor people in St. John Parish? They come through with the economic blackmail. We're going to bring 3,000 jobs into the community. Any one of you that want to see it, take a ride up and down the parish from St. Charles and Jefferson Parish. Look at the number of plants and ask yourself, how many black people are we? Sure, you get a job, but the type of job you're giving me, I'm tired of it. With that shovel, cleaning the toilets, I don't want that anymore. I want a job where I can put on the collar and tie. I can buy one of these Mercedes Benz. I want to be somebody. And what do my people need? If you look at the news the other day, you saw part of it. They need education. Because it's the only thing that will make them free. You saw the problem they were on Channel 4 or maybe some of the other television channels. What we're having in the educational system. I say you can't run a plant of any kind until you educate people. How is Formosa going to bring a plant into the community? Who's going to work in it? The educational system in St. John Parish is about at the bottom of the list in the state of Louisiana. And each and one of you know that Louisiana is almost at the bottom of the list in the nation. I heard a young lady said, the time has come for 2 years, or for 2 terms at least, by the average politician. 2 terms is too many for some of them. Because they have no interest in us. They are not sensitive to the needs of the poor. Their only interest is what's good for the factory is good for the politician. I know St. John Parish. I am a product of St. John Parish, although I was not educated in St. John Parish. My parents were. My father could not read. My mother could not read. I can. And I say to every young boy and girl, there are 2 things white men don't want you to know. He don't want you to learn how to read. Because if you learn to read, you'll be able to educate yourself. And he doesn't want you to learn how to count, because you'll be able to keep up with your money. So what is he saying to the poor people in that community? I can say as far back as I can find records. What I'm talking about, I'm not talking about what somebody told me, because I know a lot that I have been told, but I'm talking about that documented record that I have in my possession. In 1874, when most of the people in that community were given land, they were given the land because it was what to them? It was wasteland. So the white man said, well, we got to keep on working on the farm, we got to keep on working. But if we keep on working on the farm and they get sick or they die, we got to bury them, we got to take care of them. So let's give them this little land on the side and push them on the side. If they die, the people in the community got to take care of them the best way they can. So if you will notice, that's why you find so many small organizations in them, such as Willow Grove Beloved Association, Woodville Beloved Association, Friends of Charity Organization, and all these different organizations. Why? Because there were people who banded themselves together, pooled their resources together, so they could take care of the sick and bury the dead. They had nobody else to do it for them. So what is it saying now? They want to build a tremendous plant in the community. Well, I'm an opponent for two reasons. Directly I am involved because they want to buy my property. And the other way I am fighting for the right of every black man in that community. Said, well, you want money? Sure. If it ever comes to the point where I got to leave or go, excuse me for saying, but the hell if I don't. You want to make money out of it. What do you think I want? And when you talk to those people and ask them, what are you going to do for us? You're going to bring in a plant here with all this stuff in you. Who's providing for our health? Who's providing for our safety? We got problems in the community now the police department can't take care of. We got health problems in the community that we can't take care of. The other day the school board going to give away $3 million a tax break, and they said them right in the front of people and tell them we got a $1.8 million deficit and we don't know how to solve it. Well, how can that be? How stupid can you get? Huh? Or do they think that the people in that community are stupid? All you got to do is but oppose them. Know the politician? I know why these politicians want it. It's going to make them little Hitlers. But you know what they're going to do? They help the plants to come in. They're going to control the job in the community. You want a job? Then you go see Mr. X. And Mr. X will call over to the plant. You know, say, I'm sending old Green over there. I say, you all right, old boy? Give him one of them shovels. I don't want that shovel, brother. I want to call an entire pencil pad. I don't want no shovel blow. That day's over. Gone forever. I say, educate my people. Mr. Template, you a man, you've been in the governor's office. Well-educated man, you know the tricks, the trades of the game. We need people like you now.
Not out of state.
We need you now to help us uncover the wrongdoing that has been done to us. If you are willing to sacrifice, because there will be pressure to come, then you have to make the choice. Am I willing? Like many of these organizations come to us and say, well, we are willing to help. I know pressure has come to bear on me, but I don't give a care. Because I can only do two things in life. Make money for two reasons. Take care of me when I'm living, bury me when I'm dead. I could tell you the story of St. John Parish that would write 2 books. But until such time as we, white and black, those of us who are being deprived of our rights, our heritage to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, until those things come to us in the manner which we think they ought to be given to us, we will be fighting. You will hear from us. And may the good Lord help those politicians. And I'll tell every one of them, those that are here, you can print it if you want. We are out to get you if you're not out to help us.
Hi, my name is Nina Schulman, and I'm a union representative with Local 100 Service Employees International Union. We represent about 3,000 employees in the state of Louisiana, mainly in healthcare, who work in the nursing homes, who are nurse aides, orderlies, licensed practical nurses, and also in the hospitals and the state mental health centers. But the great majority of our membership is based in the school system. We represent the school support workers, those who aren't the teachers, those who are paid very little for what they do and get very little recognition for their hard work, the bus drivers, the teacher aides, the cafeteria workers, the maintenance workers, and the custodians in the school system. Our work in the school system in organizing these employees throughout the state intersects with LCTJ's work because, as the gentleman before me was going on about the educational system in Louisiana, we all know it's woefully underfunded. And it's underfunded in part because our tax system is so inequitable. We've had that fight very directly across the state and most recently here in Baton Rouge in the school system. Our school system was facing an $8 million deficit going into the next school year. And they've refused for 4 years to put a tax on the ballot to fund the deficit and to create a real base for the school system's finances. As a result, there are teacher aides and bus drivers and cafeteria workers and janitors in our school system who work way below poverty level and are trying to support a family on salaries that range from $6,000 to $7,000 to $8,000 a year. And we can't pay them anymore because there's no more money in the system because in part the corporations aren't willing to pay their fair share. So what happens is every time we go before the school board and tell them that they need to raise some money through taxes, the Chamber of Commerce comes down to the school board, tells them that they can't afford to pay any more taxes as corporations, and bullies them into preventing a tax from going onto the ballot. When this happened last year, Zach Knopf came down to the school board and helped us to try and tell the school board off. We still lost by 1 vote and we didn't get the tax placed on the ballot. This year we were back again, Zach was back again, LCTJ was back again, and we did get the tax placed on the ballot last Thursday. So we were very happy about this, and what we found is without this collective pressure, the school boards will completely kowtow to the chambers of commerce, to the top 25 here, which are the top 25 corporations that are getting all these tax breaks, and will never be able to fund the school system, will never be able to improve education in our state, and will never be able to help these employees who really desperately need this help. We're also very excited about the bill that LCTJ introduced last year to try and prevent the corporations' tax exemptions from being applied towards education, and we hope that'll be passed through in the future. Thanks a lot.
We have 3 more individuals who wish to speak, and we're running behind time, so we'd appreciate it if you would, as much as we'd like to hear from you, it's very informative. We'd like to ask you that you limit your time here and give us as much information as possible in that short period of time. And so the next name on the list is Arbin Dickey, followed by Maybelle London, and then Janice Dickerson.
Thank you very much. My name is Arbin Dickey, and for God's sakes, don't mistake me for a white man, brother. I got voted black in that AG strike in I believe it was 1983 and 84. I sat across among the things that I do, is I help working class people, and I get paid for it serving as the president and chief executive officer of the United Food Commercial Workers, Local 210. Let me introduce people who came down from Natchitoches who work in chicken plants. They work in these plants where you hang chickens up on a line and you roll those things through and you got chickens and got them up those are the things you buy at the market. From Natchitoches, Louisiana, part of our leadership in about a 900 employee plant, Sheila Williams. Please stand up, Sheila. Roosevelt Smalley, who also gets paid for helping people in grocery stores, chicken plants. He's a union organizer. He solves some problems. He's very active politically. He's not only a member of the union, he's a lifetime member of the NAACP. He's past president of the State A. Philip Randolph Institute, current president of the Randolph Institute, community activist from northern part of Louisiana. Roosevelt, would you stand up? Let's see you. Also came down from Natchitoches, Belle Caesar, operating under the name Belle Caesar. She's married. Congratulations on your marriage, Belle. Please stand up and let the folks look how pretty you are. I talked to Roosevelt Thursday. He was in Natchitoches, and I told him that there was a group of people called Louisiana Coalition for Tax Justice. And says I've seen them cross paths, like Mr. Grenion. When Day Williams was running for Congress, Mr. Grenion was on the line and doing, he was carrying more what's in her head and heart for his Congress person rather than what's in their pants. So that unfortunately, we got some people that are more interested in color and what's in your pants than what's in your head and heart. Here, a very qualified Congress lady did not get elected. Maybe she was throwing us a laugh, Ralph, and some of them wanted, was concerned of the color of the laugh, right? Here we are both drowning. But I did want to tell you that it's a pleasure to see you, and I'm not going to tell you all what our organization is about. We are statewide. We represent the national grocery stores, Canal, Villeray, Real Superstores, Kroger over Lake Charles. We'll tell you one thing and give you a little help though. If you have children or young kids that want part-time jobs, if you can locate them a job in the Kroger store, Canal, Villeray store, national store, as they enter their 4th month of employment, they will pick up insurance. Their exception for that is the Stanley store in Morgan City. They won't get the insurance down there right now. They will get it in Houma, Louisiana, those of you from Houma. They will get it in Gonzales for you all workers. And for my brother, they will get it in Laplace. So if you have children and friends that need the dental insurance or glasses or what, ours, doesn't matter if they'll show up one of those grocery stores, they'll pick up that little benefit. And for the people here, some of your families could use that. Those of you from Alcorn, that's a group that I became familiar with, organizing Hispanics in the barrio of San Antonio. Bell, I'd like for y'all to get to know the gentleman from Alcorn and these other community groups. They're wonderful people. You are the kind of people that makes things happen. And it may have the appearance that maybe you may appear to be few in number, but the kind of people that are in this gathering, we know that you've got some real live wires, and I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I want to say that we're here as individuals, as members of the various organizations. We're here from the FCW to get to know you as people and as individuals, because in my way of judgment, you are the most classy people that I've ever met in my entire life. And I sat across the bargaining table from asses of a very high stature and make big chips. Big chips. I sat there I've looked across the table, it's disgusting. They go out on the golf course and stay in 140 nights, and you don't think hotel rooms can cost 140 nights. I guarantee you they can. And you'll find them up there playing golf in Amelia Island. And I have no apologies for this coat and tie, because you young developing activists, I'm going to tell you something about fighting. You can stand out there half a mile and start telling people what you're going to do, and they're going to kick your ass before you get there. But you slip that coat and tie on, and you get in close. You get in close. You bring that knee up. That's what you got to do. They all have little costumes. I got to tell you something else about that white man. It is very true. I'm not white, I got burgundy black, remember. I apologize to you for my accent. I can't help that. That's not my fault. I was raised in a little town where they had to pipe in sunlight west of here, about 6.5 hours, and it happened to be in the state of Texas on the other side of Sabine. One of my ancestors got lost. I'm part Native American. I have no clue what tribe. I asked my mama. She says, son, we just didn't admit we was part Indian over there. They didn't like them. They just absolutely hated them in Texas because they burned out things over there. In any event, we want to get to know you as people. Let me tell you where our offices are. If you do it in the neighborhood organizing, we got a little meeting hall. You might need it just north of Bel Air School on South Choctaw. We'll certainly open to you at any time we're not using it. And the price is right, it's free. So we want to be with you. We want to get to know you. And we want to learn from you, because I want to tell you something. You inspire us too. Kevin, I recall Kevin Henderson come by. Here's a kid that come by. He wasn't playing the big shot. I've been in unions since '74. How many times have I seen with the union shop mentality? No offense, brother, but with the union shop mentality, how many times I've seen somebody come in and ask for affiliation, asking you shall receive. Long time ago, and I understand this right to work is every bit as bad as anybody's told you, and it's even worse. But when I was a young union rep coming up, I'm going to tell you what my old man told me. He was naive. He didn't know any better. He loved his union, though. I mean, he loved his union because when minimum wage went to 26 cents, he lost his job. And the union was all he had. And my family knows what it is not to have a house, but to sleep out on the side and camp out and pick fruit if one of you is lucky enough to get a job picking fruit as a migrant worker. But anyway, my old man told me, son, if you're worth a damn as a union representative, hell, there'll be an opportunity to join a union. I really believe that coming up in Texas. But I got educated about right to work when it came in Louisiana, and when that fat cat sitting up here running that company tries to put on a program to keep people out of the union, and when them politicians link hands, because a bulldog can't bite you if you got no teeth, and that's exactly what this right to work business is about. But we don't want to hit up here and talk about our union problem. I want to get to know more about what you're doing, because on your little sheet that you passed here, you passed a resolution of your issues. And I didn't have anything to say about that, but I was sitting here listening. And for you folks that come down from Natchitoches, Bell, you can go back to your plant. And these are issues that come from different groups of the community. And you know, every one of them relate to us. They relate to us because we are working people. So you can go right up to that poultry plant to those 900 people, and we can take your issues that you develop, with your input, and every one of them hit our needs. Every one of them. You didn't miss us as working people. And you see, rather than to give you a list of different issues we're involved, we got our work cut out to pass and make happen these issues that you put right here. So I want to urge everybody to support your issues, the Louisiana Coalition of Tax Justice. And thank you so much for the leadership at this head table, for the leadership you're willing to give, and thank you so much for those of you who've accepted office, for your willingness to serve the people of this state, because it takes a lot of work. You get very little thanks, and I want to thank you people. You're the most classy people I've ever met. Thank you.
I'm Maybelle London from the Northern Roots Garden City Community Alliance. And there we are working on a project of getting the old vacant houses torn down. And through Zach North, we are having some success. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Janice Dickerson. I work with the Gulf Coast Tenant Organization. Zach, I want to thank you for taking the liberty of calling me up here. But you see the paper I bought, so I'm going to keep y'all here a while. We work primarily on, well, I can't say primarily. I'm the office director here in the Baton Rouge office. We have 3 offices, one in Mississippi, home office in New Orleans. The organization was formed in the early 80s as primarily a tenant organization, but we know being poor and being black that we can't concentrate on one issue. Therefore, the organization has expanded organizing efforts into probably every area of anybody's life that's poor in this country. Middle class people, well, I noticed the other day most folk in this country like to call themselves middle class, but I think we need to look at the economic indicators before we reach that, decide that we're middle class. Most of us actually fall into categories that we call poor and perhaps working poor. We work on environmental issues. I was displaced by industry, a victim of environmental poisoning. We work with like social justice, labor, women issues, children, healthcare, everything. And I've got somebody I want to recognize today who work with recovering drug addicts. We've got a young lady, and I hope she don't mind, but I'm just so proud of her. And I want to share her glory with everybody in this room. Former coke addict who's about to make 6 months of being on the wagon. Denise Perkins. Denise is currently, as a recovering addict, heading up our counseling program for recovering primarily female addicts, because we know, once again, that's something somebody with some money has brought into our neighborhoods to help us self-destruct. We also work with youth programs. Somebody else I want to recognize who served as a I don't know, I guess kind of a mother hen and make sure everything go right in this organization and take care of a lot of our babies when our mothers are on drugs and they take their food stamps and they spend them. She makes sure the kids have food to eat and a place to stay. Mildred Henderson. And of course, the chauvinist in the organization, our executive director, Pat Bryant. We talked a little bit about the economic issues, and one of the things we've got to realize in this country is that this country is a capitalist society, and all functions of our lives are governed by money, and the people who control our lives are the people with money. And we got to understand that if you don't have any money, the reality of this country is that you could be purple or polka dotted, you ain't running nothing. David Duke is a classic example. For me, I personally think racism is an outgrowth of economics because I've done a little research on it. And of course, when everybody in a society is poor and a few people control the money, control the wealth, we've got to figure a way where we can keep the balance tilted in our scales if we're wealthy. So what better way to devise a system of keeping the have-nots bickering than to take poor whites and poor blacks and separate them and tell poor whites that you're better simply because you're white. But if we go back and we look at the whole period of slavery, we look at black slaves who were given, in many instances, very meager quarters to live in, but they were property, so they were cared for to a certain extent. They were given food. But then we took the overseer, the sharecropper, who was white, who was starving, in many instances suffering from malnutrition, in many ways didn't have anywhere to stay. But he abused the slave instead of abusing the master. And he abused the slave because the master told him that he was better simply because he's white. And what I've been asking people lately, if I'm starving and I'm black and you're starving and you're white, what the hell make you starve any better because you're white? Make me understand. With the David Duke scenario, David Duke is playing on a lot of emotionalism in this country. And what Dave doesn't realize is that he's not part of that group that actually controls the wealth in this country. And David Duke and what he's trying to do is just as dangerous to those boys who's running this country as some of us are who are out here organizing poor and working class folk. Because if they manage to get an agenda of racism moving, it's not in their best interest. And what he's doing is actually talking about mobilizing a force that could challenge, in fact, and everybody has something negative to say, that could challenge the power structure. And so many people buy into what Dave is saying because people are fed up with this government. But they're channeling their energies the wrong way. It's not the hate, not the thing of hating my brother simply because he looks different, or my sister because she looks different. Let's see if we can pool our resources and work toward improving the plight for all of us, because one thing this country, as a little tiny flaw in this country, they want to call themselves a democracy. And what they messed up and did, they told us that we can elect people. We've got the power to vote. And just think about it, we don't have the economic resources, but if we pool, move across race, cultural, religious, sex lines, if we pool that little thing called the right to vote, we can make a serious difference in this country. But we're going to have to overcome our own barriers to realize that the people with the means, with the money in this country, slipped up when they gave us the right to vote. That's why they tried to restrict everybody all the way along from voting. You know, first you had the poll tax, and even if you were white, if you didn't have no money, you couldn't vote. Then you had to be a property owner. If you were white and didn't have no property, you couldn't vote. So white folks were disenfranchised too if they were poor and didn't have any money. So we got to figure out, we got to use, but then when all this stuff was eliminated, thanks to a number of people coming together saying this is supposed to be a democracy, enforce your document, but that document was not written for poor folk and it wasn't written for us. But they messed around and they want to show to the world that this is not a capitalist society, that it's a democratic society, and they gave all of us the right to vote. And we should, at some point, be able to jack up all them folk in the legislature, elect a responsible governor. We should be able to do something, make a president become responsive to the needs of the people in this country instead of internationally. I mean, all of us are hurting economically. And your president, and people run around here talking about, I'm a conservative. Well, being conservative, basically these folk are talking about money, they ain't talking about race. And see, folk run around here, I'm a conservative because I don't want you sitting beside me. I don't want you working on this job. But what folk got to realize, when you stop me from working, you stop yourself from working. And is it worth to kill me off to kill yourself off? Because the folk with the money going to continue in this country. Another thing that's very important here is education. You know, another thing that I toy around with, if folk can keep you ignorant, they can keep you divided. If they can keep you ignorant, you don't learn how their system operates, and you buy into their pie. So one of the things is, particularly here in Louisiana, I think that Ms. Green talked about the educational level. One other theory is that the politicians who allocate the funding for schools know just what they're doing. Because if you're ignorant, you can't challenge them. If you can't read, you don't know what kind of laws they're making. You know, so you have to educate yourself in what's going on. Again, that's not a race issue. That's a power issue. So what I'm asking is, there's been a lot of problems in this quote-unquote environmental movement, social justice movement, however you want to categorize it, in Louisiana. And I'm going to make a public call for it. I'm going to ask folk to come together and work together for the preservation of themselves and future generations of folk who think they're middle class, or yourself, whoever you might think you might be. I think it's time to stop the bickering, because what you're doing is you're allowing people to destroy you. And you know, you can always, if we won't fight in-house, let's fight in-house, but at least let's present a united front to somebody. I look at the Edwin Edwards situation, and by no means was he my person, my choice for governor. I've got serious problems with him. I had problems with Buddy Roma. So really, I almost didn't have a choice. You know, a lot of people thought Buddy Roma was great. I didn't, because if we look at the totality of one's surrounding as being the environment, he didn't do anything for the majority of the folk here. So I had problems with him. I had problems with David Duke because of the hate rhetoric. So what we need to do, but we ended up not having a choice, and a lot of people supported Edwin Edwards.